Welcome back to another episode of Construction Tech Talk. Today, we're thrilled to have Nick Stevens with us, a coach at Legacy Decks Academy. Today, we're going to be talking about how to enhance that sales process for your contracting business and how to foster robust company culture by investing in your people. So, Nick, my friend, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing real well. Appreciate you having me on, and just excited about the opportunity to share some of the things that we're doing on our side of things, but also what you're seeing in the industry as well. So it's always great to share different ideas and find out what we can be doing better, and maybe hopefully bring some value to your listeners for sure.
100%. And so, that's kind of the first question is actually something that I'm seeing myself, and I want to steal your insights and your knowledge. Is one of the core challenges that I'm seeing with a lot of contractors, especially in the economic time that we're at, where some people might be a little bit more hesitant to spend. I'm seeing where bids are getting lost to the lowest price, right? And hey, they undercut me, missed out again has been a common issue. How can
hmm
contractors build a sales process that's not just compared on price, but actually creates lasting value to separate themselves from the competition?
I mean, I think you said it exactly right there, is demonstrating value. I tell everyone early and often. And ultimately, that's how you're going to win over clients is the age old saying, people do business that they like and that they want to do business with. And that's been something for us. We've really focused as being a value driven business and a value driven company. And ultimately, that's what most of our homeowners on our deck side of things that we focus on is we're not the cheapest. If anything, we're the most expensive that they're going to get. And we let them know that up front, and we should be. And we let them know throughout the process of, hey, this is the value that we have. And then at the end of the day, we're a really good deal because you're
Mm-hmm.
getting a contractor that cares, a contractor that has the systems, that has the tools in place to make sure that a construction project is a big deal for any homeowner, whether it's a $20,000 remodel or a $200,000 remodel. It's a big deal for them. And so we walk them through that process to where they feel comfortable that their money is going to get them what they want. And at the end of the day, that's what every homeowner wants, is to make sure that they get what they want for a price that they're comfortable with. And so
Mm-hmm.
really that's the biggest thing. And it is hard out there when people say, I got undercut. Somebody could do it for cheaper. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be those contractors that are out there. They're not going to last because if you're racing on price, it's a race to the bottom. And who's going to go out of business first? If you're not charging the
Mm-hmm.
right numbers, you don't have the right markup. And so that's really a big thing for us with the coaching aspect of helping other academy members with their systems and process, have those numbers in place. That way you're pricing appropriately. And then we can go to that homeowner and know with confidence that, hey, you are giving them the best price you can.
Mm-hmm. In a presentation, is it something that's communicated throughout that process? Is it the way that the estimate is shown? What are some of the key areas where it's like, hey, this is a great opportunity to separate yourself apart and make sure you're winning those jobs on value?
So yes to all of those things. It's
Yeah.
really a combination. It's you have to be that 5-star or that 5-tool player that we've all heard about. And so for us, really, it starts with we have a great website. When a homeowner goes onto our website, they're going to see, okay, this is the quality of work they're doing. Okay, they have a contact us. Okay, they fill out their form. It's asking some very broad level questions. After they fill that out, we have our gal who answers the phone, who we call our director of first impressions. That's the first
Mm,
person on the phone that they're going to have in contact. So she's doing an unbelievable job of making sure call, text, email, whatever communication we can get in touch with that homeowner to immediately start that separation from everybody else. Then she runs them through their basic questions to like, all right, hey, do they want what we offer? Are they in our market? Have they talked about different budget? Do they have a timeline? If we have somebody call and say, hey, I need you to come build me a deck next week, we unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we have that backlog where I can't run out there next week to do that. So we have that aspect. Then this is really the big thing that I've been stressing with a lot of people is if they book an appointment with me, I'm doing what I call a pre-qualification call. So I'm setting the stage for when I show up, immediately they recognize me. They've talked on the phone with me. Technology is great. I can send them videos introducing myself directly from my cell phone. Not as canned as some of the things that we have done in the past where they get an introductory video and everything like that, but I want to send something that's authentically me. So that way I can start building that rapport. And I go run them through a longer list of questions to really start to dive in, find out what their pain points about their project are, and really besides price, what are the other aspects that are going to be their buying decision makers.
Mm,
And ultimately, we want to make sure that we're the right contractor for them and they're the right client for us. And even having that possibility that, hey, I'm going to tell them no, like you know what, we should cancel this appointment. It really starts to level the playing field and open them up to say, hey, he's not going to just try to sell me something that I don't want. He wants to make sure that he can properly help us and vice versa. If they want us to do something that we don't normally do, you know what, we're probably not going to be the right fit. But I feel confident about that because then we're moving them closer to the decision with the right contractor for them, because we're not the right
100%.
contractor for every homeowner. And so that's really been a big shift there. But then when we get on site, we're showing up, we're wearing branded gear, branded trucks. We have a sales folder. We have a documented process that we walk through every homeowner with that. So they've heard about it. They've now seen it. They've experienced it. It's all those little things, all the senses are clicking for them. So that way, when we're on site, it's not the first time they're interacting with Legacy Decks. It's the fourth, fifth, sometimes even sixth time that they've interacted with us. And so now they're comfortable. They know that we have the tools, we have the expertise to navigate all the different decisions that they're going to have to make in a project. And that's
Mm,
really where we break down that call it sales resistance that every homeowner has. All right, here's a sales guy. He's showing up to my house. What's he going to sell me? What's the what is it? The blinker fluid or something like that? Something that I don't need. And so that's really been a huge factor for us, and especially the last couple of years. But really, what we've had as a company culture.
and I think some of the key takeaways is creating a relationship with that person throughout, right? At any touch point that you can. And it's the same thing as if you were using social media or advertising on social media and they keep seeing your face, they keep seeing your face, they keep seeing your face, and they listen to your
Mm-hmm.
information, all that. They're building a relationship before they even go down to that sales engagement. And so, anywhere that you can do that to help create clarity and rapport is just going to make everything easier. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's a great way to stand out. Contractors struggle with communication, right? All that kind of stuff. And it seems like you guys just nail it and it makes such a big deal. Now, when you guys are able to execute at such a high level and you guys are closing these deals, you're building the rapport, clients are happy. Do you guys can have a process where if there's an opportunity for repeat business, they can execute on that. If not, they can get referrals, reviews, and anything else to really maximize that relationship?
Absolutely. So one thing that we do a very good job is getting reviews and asking for reviews. We have different automations. We're asking for the review at the final walkthrough. Something that we have not been doing well is asking for referrals. I said earlier, early and often, we're not asking for referrals early and often. So that is something that's on my list of, like, hey, we got to get better at this. We need to improve on it. And it's one of those things as well. There's always something to improve on. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
really a big thing there. But then with us having a lifetime craftsmanship warranty, we actually have a warranty portal for any of our homeowners. Hey, if something happens to go wrong in a couple of years, board acts a little wonky, hey, great. They have a point of contact, or they can reach out to us directly and we can fill out that form for them. But ultimately, we don't have a ton of repeat business, mainly because we don't want repeat business. We want to do your
100%.
deck, your outdoor space, do it once. But I've been with the company now for a little over 7 years. I've now had 3 repeat clients that have moved homes, and now their new home
That's
doesn't
cool.
have the same space they had. And those I absolutely love because I don't want to say it's an absolute layup when they call back, but they're familiar with us. They had a great experience. And now it's, if really anything, I sometimes feel a little bit more pressure because it was 3 years ago. And I'm like, man, we've gotten so much better since then. So now I really want to up the ante. They were confident enough to sign with us last time. I really don't want to lose them on this go around. And so it really puts a little bit more pressure for us to say, all right, we did it once. Can we do it again for you? And when we do that, it's really satisfying.
That's the best, right? That
Yeah.
just solidifies everything that you're doing when they give you a call like that. I work with a variety of contractors. When we look into the repeat business, it's going to be a situation like that, or it's going to be for some people who offer some kind of service work. But when you're looking at the referrals, that is good for anybody, right? Anybody can follow that strategy for sure. So, what about, is there anything else that you guys do in terms of building trust at all that you think is a little bit different? Or is that kind of touch on everything? Because if so, I'll move on to the technology side of things and ask you guys some questions on that.
Yeah. I think it's also just a culture aspect. We bring in people that are family focused, people that are lifelong learners, people that truly care. They're not necessarily your quintessential salesperson that's like, all right, I just want to collect my commission check and move on to the next. It's something special that we have a family environment here, and we truly want to create great backyard spaces for other families. And I think that's really what starts to separate us is we're not just a contractor that's coming and saying, all right, yeah, I can build that. No, we truly want to find out what they want to create in their space. And I think that's really where we've started to separate ourselves from others in our market.
And so what about, do you have any tips on how you're finding good salespeople, how you're training them to be successful? Because I think that's one of the harder positions to fulfill. Even for me, I'm
Hmm.
not in the contracting world, but I serve contractors and I've hired different positions, but I think sales is one of the most difficult to get people on, train them well, have them produce consistent results, and then retain
Yep.
those individuals, right? That's not easy. So, do you have any advice on that?
You need people that love rejection. Anybody that's in sales needs to understand, like, hey, if I'm closing at a 25% close ratio, that means I need 3 no's before I get my yes. And
100%.
so really having that mindset of somebody that is going to just show up every day, willing to just get punched in the mouth and just like, all right, yep, that's got one down, just need 2 more and then I'm getting a yes. And so that's the mentality that we look for. I said we have our core values. We want those people that are those lifelong learners, that never accept the status quo, those people that are team based. That individual salesperson, like I said, a hired gun that's just going to come in. Okay, yeah, I'll learn my products and then just let me run wild. That's usually not going to be somebody that lasts very long here and really not even make it through the interview process.
Mm,
We've been very lucky. We've got right now, we have three $1 million plus salespeople on this team right now,
nice.
and that's continuing to grow. We actually just this year had somebody eclipse the $2 million mark, which as a salesperson, that's really incredible. I'm knocking on the door of that here shortly. And so it's been a great experience to see how the team's grown and elevate each other throughout that process. But in terms of recruiting, we've looked at people in all different types of industries, not just construction. I think sometimes when you're thinking of a
Mm,
salesperson, especially if you're an owner yourself, you're like, all right, they need to know as much as I do. And
mhm.
it's no, we we as salespeople, I joke, if you ever see me on your job site with other than an iPhone or a tape measure, call your project manager because there's an unauthorized personnel. Like I have no business assembling anything on the deck. I can bring drinks for the crew or haul some stuff to the dumpster, but really it's about having that communication with the homeowner, being able to find the solutions that they need for their space. And at the end of the day, that's really all we're looking for in a salesperson is somebody that's more of a consultant versus trying to say, all right, hey, this is what you need. This is what we need to do. And
Mhm.
if they don't have the answer right away, that's the beauty of having a team is they can lean on us to help them navigate questions that they have because heck, I'm 7 years in and I'm still asking questions. So
Mhm. I love it. Well, congrats on all the success with the $1 million mark and even the $2 million mark. Very impressive.
thank
Um,
you.
so how does the sales team interact, would you say, in a high performing sales team? I've seen some where some salespeople are almost on their own island. I've seen more of
Hmm.
a collaborative approach where they figure out ways to assist each other. And that goes into kind of the culture. What's like the ideal culture and rapport relationship between sales team members?
We want everybody to
Mhm.
succeed. We know what each other's backstories are. We know why we want to be successful in this position. What trips you want to take your family on? What are what school do your kids are hoping to go to for school? What are you saving for? Those are important factors for me and the team. And so when we're in our sales meetings or just in our sales office, our bullpen, it's all about, okay, what are you working on? What do you need help with? It's very proactive and very collaborative in that. When we have a showroom meeting, I may say, hey, I've got this client who I think might need just a little extra touch point. They're coming in at 4:30. Can you swing in maybe 4:40 and just introduce yourself? It adds validity to have another person from the team to maybe give their 2 cents
Mhm.
on a design element. And so that for us, it's always a very yes mentality with the rest of the sales team. Nobody's really, oh, why'd they get that lead and I only got this one? Because at the end of the day, it all balances out. We all want to be successful, and not one of us is going to be able to, you know, close every single deal. So we need that collaborative approach. So for us, that's really what's built our culture as a sales organization is how can we help the other people on our team?
Mhm. Mhm. And then how do you guys kind of format that then? And because I want to get some advice on this side. I I work with a lot of contractors where they'll have crazy busy months, and then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes whether it's weather, whether it's just a slower season, whatever it might be, it starts to slow down. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they become such a lead machine when it's busy, and they're
Yep.
handing them out, and then the salespeople are just reacting and taking those leads and then executing. But then when it's time to hunt a little bit more and be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more proactive in generating your own business, it's very hard to shift that mindset because they're
Yep.
so used to getting fed leads.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on that? And how can you make sure that you can feed your team because you want to today, but then keep them
Absolutely.
hunting and hungry?
Yes. Any good salesperson's going to have a little bit of a hunter aspect, but obviously they get fat and happy if the leads just are
Mm-hmm.
coming to them and they're like, all right, yep, here's my leads for the week. I'm going to go run them, close them, call it a day. And for us, one thing that we are always tracking and one of the metrics that we track on a weekly basis is networking events. So putting yourself out there to where somebody isn't just going to call Legacy Dex, they're going to call Nick at Legacy Dex. So
Mm-hmm.
networking, my big thing is like sales related activities.
Mm.
And it's one of those things, make it a metric, make it competitive with your sales team. Salespeople are competitive. So if you make it competitive to say, hey, who's going to get the most referrals from networking events? Who's going to
Mm-hmm.
collect the most business cards? And
Gamify it.
exactly, gamifying anything with salespeople is going to be your most successful pathway. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a lot of trial and error because you may find some networking events aren't great, some are really beneficial, but you never know who you're going to run into that might say, oh, you know what? You should call this guy Nick. He does decks and outdoor living. He might be a good lead for you. Or you, just like your close ratio, you might get 7 leads that are no good, but you get that eighth one, and that's a 6-figure job that you close. Hey, that's worth every penny
Mm-hmm.
because it's an organic one. And so that's a big thing. You need to set the expectations with a sales team of, hey, we're going to have our busy season. You guys will feast during that. But when it slows down to keep you guys on staff, this is the expectation. This is what it would look like to be successful. So one, they know the expectation. Two, you're tracking it. Three, you hold them accountable to it. Because that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing is if you say, hey, we want you guys to do stuff. Okay, hey, Chad, you sold $2.5 million this year. I know it's the slow season, so we'll just let it slide and everything like that. That sets the tone for the rest of the team. Like everyone needs to have the same metrics, the same accountability. And at the end of the day, if it's the right fit for your culture, that accountability is going to motivate those high performers to hit even higher numbers for you.
I love it. So what about on you mentioned tracking the activities?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I kind of did a similar thing, not necessarily with the sales team, but just with my team, where we meet every Zoom or every morning on Zoom, and we all pick 3 goals. It doesn't have to
Yep.
be anything crazy, but then the day we all present if we hit our goals or not. And
Yep.
most of those people, they do not want to show up to the meeting every single day saying they didn't hit their goals, because then it looks like they're not holding their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
What are the right activities, right? Because we're looking at KPIs, we're looking at keeping people accountable and assessing performance. You want to make sure you're tracking the right ones. What's the right activities to really focus on when you're working with the sales team?
Right activities are going to be the ones that are driving sales. So what things that are closing, like for me, like today, my HVTs or high value targets today, or let me see, I can actually pull them up right now. So that way for my entire team. So let's see, mine today was, we had an Academy L10. I had to do my Dyer budget and then this podcast. So those are my 3 high value targets. Other team, we had a 9 o'clock consult budget with that, meeting with Lacey, follow up with a Murdoch client. So every single one of our team members is dropping those things. And then that's the other part, is the rest of the team holds people accountable. If somebody drops that, are you just filling the space here? We hold that teammate accountable for something like that. But in terms of a sales related activity, it would be, hey, who are you calling? Just generically saying, hey, I'm cold calling today. Okay. If you make 1 call, that's technically cold calling. How many calls are you going to make today? How many doors are you going to knock today? How many emails or follow-ups on LinkedIn are you going to make today? And put a specific number on that. And those are things that, yeah, you may do that for 3 weeks straight and get no results, but they're the right things to be doing. And when you're doing them consistently, the work works. You're going to get results if you're continuing to put your name and your company out there to where people see it. Sometimes it's as simple as like, all right, I've done this before. I've gone to a coffee shop one day during our slow months, and I'll probably do it again this year. I will go and I will post up right near the checkout, and I'm like, all right, I'm buying 5 people coffee this morning. And all it takes is like, all right, I'm going to buy you a cup of coffee, but you're going to take my business card. I don't even care to know if you need a deck or anything like that. I'm just going to introduce myself. So the right activity is the activity. Whatever it may be, it's you getting your name, your face, and your company out into the general public. Because if people know about you, they're going to call.
100%. Yeah, I love that.
It may not be today. It may not be next week. It may not be next year. But if they see you consistently, at some point, they're going to call you.
100%. No, I love that. And for salespeople out there, and you can extend on this because I want to give some advice just to salespeople trying to make it happen. I think it's such a great opportunity, sales in the trades. And it's funny, I come from the tech background, always working with contractors, but I have so many people that have been laid off in tech. And I'm like, guys, go into the trades, man. You can make some great cash, have a great career. It's a great opportunity. So I'm all about it. But if you're just getting started, you got to think this way, especially when you're gamifying and you're trying to move yourself up the leaderboard. Hey, if you got, let's say you close 1%, right? Let's say you're so rusty, you have to talk to 100 people before you close one. And your competitor or someone internally you're trying to beat closes at 10%. If you talk to more people, right, shake more hands, make more introductions, right, you can close just as many deals as someone who has a better close rate. But once you refine it, you can start to improve that close rate. What advice would you give to people who might be struggling in contracting sales or just want some advice to get better and grow, develop?
Like you said, get as many reps as you can, but that person that's closing at a better rate than you, go buy them a cup of coffee saying, hey, I've been watching you. You've been crushing it. Like what tips, can you come on an appointment with me? Can you come shadow me and give me some feedback? Or do you record your calls? Can I listen to one? And I just want to hear some of that verbiage there. That would be the big thing. It's one of those things. Yeah, I don't want to say fuel the ego, but at the same time, it's like, if you tell somebody, hey man, you're crushing it. Can you give me some tips? Because I want to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
And that's something people want to help.
100%.
And every single person that's out there, they want to help. And it's not, if you go at it with an approach that you're envious or listen, they're doing something differently that's leading to their success.
100%.
And so touching base with them, and then other contractors that are maybe in your industry adjacent, calling them and saying, hey, I run into quite a few people, like, what's your ideal client? If I run across somebody, who do you think I should send over to you? So look at those areas, like, one, ask for help. Two, ask how you can help.
Mm-hmm.
That top performing salesperson saying, hey, can I run an appointment with you? And I'll take all the notes. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I just want to be on fly on the wall because you're obviously doing something that's working really well. And I need to pick up just a little bit of that.
I love that. Like you said, successful people always want to help, right? The chances are that they had another successful person give them the blueprint. They utilized it.
Mhm.
And whenever they see somebody hungry to get where they're at, majority of the time, they are going to want to help you out. There's no doubt about it. First off, it boosts their confidence, right? It's for sure, right? You feel good about yourself. And then you want to help out as well. So I'm sure that they will give you any advice that you ask for, especially if they're on your team. And then ask for strategic partners, right? See how you can help out other strategic partners where they're going to be selling for you and you're going to be selling on their behalf. Because that's going to make a huge impact. So strategic partners, ask for help, get that mentorship from somebody who already has that blueprint for success. Now, I wanted to ask you too. So, what do you think if you got the sales superstar but causes issues, right? They got the Hollywood syndrome on them. Are they worth it? Are they worth it or no?
Short term, yes. Long term, no. Because the reality is if it's a high performing salesperson that gets the Hollywood syndrome, they're there for the money and they're going to leave for the money. And then you're going to be left without anybody else on the team. And if you allow that behavior as an owner, it is going to rot your culture from the inside out. And when they leave, it's not going to go back to the way that you always dreamed it would be. It will take years, and it's possible you may never rebuild the culture that you want because all the employees that stay will remember you allowed that type of cancer to be in your culture for way too long. So that it's not a matter of if it happens again. They're thinking when that happens again, we're going to get another Hollywood salesperson. They're going to come in. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's going to get all the good leads. Like they're going to tell themselves all the stories that they may be. Fact or fiction, they're going to tell that story and it's going to become just this gossip culture with other salespeople that are maybe great salespeople. Maybe if that salesperson was out of the way, they would have that opportunity to grow. But
so true.
It's a tough thing though. If you got a top performer and say, hey, I know you were probably top 5 in the company last year, but your attitude sucks. And we can't have that. If you got rid of that person, I guarantee that those 5 through 10 salespeople that you have, or even if it's your top person, if that number 2 is going to see that and holy crap, there's a huge opportunity, and you go to them and say, I need you to step up now, you will be shocked at what that person actually steps up and does for you.
100%. Look at sports teams, right? If you look at sports teams, there can be one bad apple who's getting paid $100 million and they completely mess up the locker room, right? And if you need sports fans out there, I'm not saying, hey, I like Stephon Diggs, but he was on the Bills. He left and he was causing all kinds of issues. They're still undefeated without him. Other players stepped up. And it seems like their chemistry, it has been improved, right? Instead of having to focus on how we make that one person happy, we just focus on performance. So sometimes they got to go. What about like for the people that do stay then? Obviously, you want to look at retention, loyalty, personal development. A lot of those top performers, they want challenges, they want opportunities, they want some kind of career path. How do you cast that vision saying, hey, long term, this is going to be the best move for your career?
You need to know what your employees do when they leave your walls. You need to know what they want to accomplish in life. You need to know what their upbringing. I think one of the biggest fallacies of our world now is this work-life balance nonsense. The work and life does not, you don't just punch a clock and drop work altogether. There's maybe a few
Mhm.
jobs out there, but that's not, especially in the trades, that's not the case.
It's not
Most of these
reality.
jobs is not the case. And just like if you have a bad weekend at home with your wife, or the kids are acting up and you come in on Monday, guess what? You're not going to be on your top of your game. But if you know that about your employees, you know what season of life they're in. Hey, Nick loves to go to Montana once a year. Okay, that's an important aspect. When he's there, we don't bother him with certain things, or we make sure that we're excited for him. When you do that, you get those people that are bought into the team and the culture because they know that the owners, the management team, they care about them as a person. Know that
Mm.
they're not just that employee. We always joke or hear that saying of like, hey, if you pass away today, they'll be listing your job next week.
Mhm.
And that still may be the case to fill a role with the position, but when you have a team that you truly know and care about, they're going to stick around through a lot more of that change, that tumultuous time period of what's going on, because they see the vision as well. I would also recommend, Chris has always been a huge proponent of this, sharing his grand vision. Where do we want to see this
Mhm.
go? And he's one of the sayings that he's always said to me is, I want my vision to be so great that my team's visions live inside of that. And
Yeah.
so if
Oh, yeah.
we start to dream bigger than what he is, he's okay, wait a minute. Like, I'm thinking small. We need to think bigger. Everyone needs to be a part of this. And so because we've been doing that, I tell everyone, this is the last job that I will have.
Yeah.
I won't work for anybody else. If I decide to go
Yeah.
out on my own, it'll be doing something else. But this is an environment that is so conducive to growth as a on a personal level, not just a professional level.
I love
Like
that.
the paycheck's great, but the personal development that I've received here and around the team that we have is second to none. I would not be where I am as a man without the personal growth that we've had here.
I love that. First off, you gotta create a compelling vision,
Mhm.
and you have to be able to tell that story where it's so motivational, it's so exciting, it's so compelling,
Yep.
and you have to continue to drive that. It's very hard to leave an organization like that, and then you wanna make sure that they feel valued,
Mhm.
and that's gotta be legitimate. That can't be any BS. You have to reverse engineer what they care about and make sure that you're focusing on those areas for those high performers to stay with you. There's no doubt about it. And I agree with what you said too, and like the personal development. For me, I was always like, all right, I'd meet with each team member once a month, and not only would we have company goals, but we'd also have personal goals. We would have certain things like they wanted to go to yoga a certain amount of times this month, or whatever it might be. Certain
Mhm.
areas that they just wanted to improve, and so I try to make that a focal point as well. And then as a leader, I always try to make it where it's like, hey, I could make more money right now, or it's like, hey, do I divvy that up, right? Where
Yep.
the high performers are well paid and taken care of, because it's going to be way less expensive for you to keep those people and maybe sometimes pay them even a little bit more than they could be worth, right?
Mhm.
And retain that talent than continually having to start over, because you know how painful that is, right? When you
Yep.
lose great people and you try to fill them in and then you get a dud, and then it's expensive,
Yeah.
right?
Placement cost is big.
Oh my gosh, man. I had to learn that the hard way with a couple bad hires in my
Yep.
past, man. And man, the time you pay these people to save you time, get the results you need, and all of a sudden now it's costing you more time. They got
Mhm.
excuses for everything, and you're like, man, I made a bad decision. So
Yep.
make sure you keep those people. What about on the tech side? How do you guys view CRMs, automation tools, stuff like that? And then do you sell that to your sales team of, hey, we have all these resources for you guys to be successful and make your job easier?
So yeah, we definitely utilize it. So we utilize the CRM. I tell everyone, salespeople for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason they hate updating the CRM. But it's like showcasing them like, hey, this is why we have that. It's a tool that's going to benefit you long term. And
Mm-hmm.
so I came from corporate sales. And so I got used to Salesforce and updating every single number, every single day, every single interaction. And so we're utilizing that. One thing that we've really been taking advantage of recently, though, is Loom videos.
Mm-hmm.
Loom is an unbelievable system. You can get a free sample. I like using the free one because it keeps your videos under 5 minutes, but we can use those to send over estimates, design work. So we can walk them through, our homeowners, we can walk them through everything that we're going to be going over with them. I personally like that a ton because they get to hear my tone and my explanation instead of them reading it in an email or a text or anything like that, to where they're usually just going to scroll to the bottom, see the price, and be like, oh, okay, that's what it is, instead of actually listening, watching a video or something like that. And then I always make the joke with people. I'm like, if you send somebody a text, you have no idea when they're going to read that. What if they've just gotten home, terrible traffic, they walk in, kids are screaming, dinner's burning on the stove, the wife is like, you need to take somebody, I need a break, and then they get a text from Nick, the deck guy, hey, have you decided what direction you want to go? And they're just like, dude, I'm taking out all my frustration on you. No, I'm not doing that. And so the video, then they can hear your tone. They can hear you being a little bit more cordial. Hey, I'm sure stuff is going chaotic. This isn't rushing you on anything. I sent over a little bit more information for you. Take a look at this. Let me know what you think of it. Then they listen to that and they're like, okay, like Nick's not just trying to push me and be salesy, because they're going to read their emails and their text usually in the most negative tone. And so we're utilizing Loom. And I heard somebody say Loom is just lonely Zoom because it's just you talking into the camera. But that's been a huge tool for us. We've been utilizing JobTread as well for our estimating and project management, which has been unbelievable for us.
It's a great tool.
Yeah. And so really for us, it's, if you're, whatever the tool is that you're using, just make sure that you're using it. And if you're not using it, it's not a tool that you probably need anymore.
Yeah.
But finding the right ones, just like I said, the strategic partnerships, finding the right softwares that are going to work for you and the team to make sure that you're actually utilizing it. It has the automations that you want built in. Our CRM that we've built out has automations for when they book an appointment. They get those email sequences leading up to the appointment. They get a sequence once if they've closed sold, they get sequences as what to prepare for as we're getting ready to start their project in the next couple of months. If they've decided to say, wait till later, we actually have a slow drip email campaign for that. So it's one of those things that just continues to do those things. Setting up tasks in your CRM to make sure that reminds you like, hey, end of September, end of the third quarter, who did you say that you were going to reach out to at the start of fall? And then you go through and you see your task list is like, all right, great. I got 10 people I get to call today. And they're like, oh, wow, you're really on point. Like I had completely forgotten about that. I'm so glad. Or we were just talking about that. The other thing that I love, CRMs now will track when people open emails. And that's a great thing to be like, hey, you just opened the email 5 minutes ago. I'm going to give you a quick call just out of the blue. Or you say, hey, I saw you open the email. Yeah. How'd you know that? It shows us when you do that in this system. And so I figured what better time than now to talk to you about it. It's just those little things to be able to just interact with your clients in a more positive way. And so that's really where technology has elevated us. And we're always eager to see what else is out there for opportunity when it comes to CRM systems.
I love the Loom video for sure, because like you said, it's the back of their mind. They're doing a trillion different things. They open your email, they open your text, and they just see a number. That's all they're seeing. And prior to that, you were walking through them every single step. So why not continue that with the final step to close? Also, some tools offer things like customer portals. I think that's a huge win. You got to think, hey, if you have OpenAR, or if they haven't signed an estimate proposal yet, rather than them having to trek through all their emails, utilizing something like a customer portal where they can access everything in one spot, I think it is huge. I'm seeing more and more of that. I love that. One thing I want to mention too, I would say majority of people don't do this, which is fine, but any kind of phone systems, right? You can integrate your email, your phone systems
Mm-hmm.
to your prospect. I think that's huge. Also, too, if you maybe it can add up in price, it's really up to you. Some people will have phone lines that are just for work, right? So if that way, if that salesperson does leave, you still have all those interactions mapped to your prospects. Opportunities like that, I think, are huge. Somebody says, "Hey, I called that person." No, you didn't. It would show me right here. Any
Yep.
kind of tools like that, I think, it is huge for sure. And it's funny you mentioned salespeople hate CRMs. I started my career working for Milwaukee Tool. I was in outside
Yep.
sales. They moved me across the country, and dude, I remember, man, I'd be at hardware stores, lumber yards, and I'd be servicing accounts, doing meetings, selling more stuff in, and then I had to go home to my hotel, right, which I was basically living in, and I'd have to go punch in my stuff. And dude,
Yep.
I hated it so much. So it's funny. Now I help with adoption of technology. And on the sales side, I'm always trying to pitch what can make their life easier? What can I
Yep.
automate? What can I integrate that automatically puts that in for them? Right. Because let's be honest, salespeople hate it, but it'd be such a big tool if you sell it right. And if
Oh
you
yeah.
can make it easier, it's gonna be great because if not everybody's using it, your data is not gonna be right anyways. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all about getting people adopted to it for sure. So let's see here. When we're talking about, let's see, maybe in innovation. Actually, you know what? I was gonna talk about how about overcoming objections. Let's talk a little bit about that. If we're talking about sales, I figure we got to touch on this before we start to close it down. Overcoming objections. What are you seeing with the salespeople that you guys have? Whether they've been a client or they've been internally at Legacy Dex, what are you seeing in terms of overcoming objections from the best salespeople? Is it something where they're starting that from the beginning, where they address objections front end? Is it a certain way to approach customers? What really stands out there?
So objections, you need to start hitting right from the jump. You know what, like for us, I know they're going to object to our pricing. I know they're probably going to object to some of the products that we offer because they've heard something negative about it. Great. I'm going to jump right in and say, hey, you've probably heard composite gets slippery when it's wet. That's true. There's some that definitely get more slippery than others. This is one in particular that if you've got an uncovered deck, I probably would stay away from this one. The other one, it gets hot. We're in South Carolina. When it's July and 105 degrees, everything outside is going to be hot. But yeah, these ones are going to be maybe a little bit cooler for you. But these ones I would stay away from just because you're south facing. So, like jumping out in front of objections and letting people know, hey, yeah, there's some drawbacks to everything that's out there. There's some drawbacks, maybe even to using us as a company for you. And that's like what I said, the pre-qualification. We might not be the right contractor for you. So jumping out in front of that is huge with homeowners. But then the other aspect that I see too many unsuccessful salespeople do is when they hit an objection, they think that's the actual objection, and they sometimes get a little bit
Mm,
defensive about it. When somebody says, "Oh, you guys are just too expensive," and they immediately like, "We have this, and this is why we charge." It's like, great. I still think you're too expensive because you already told me about all those things. Instead of saying, well, what do you mean by too expensive? And so I was hoping that we could be a little bit lower, or we were expecting it to be $20,000 less than this. I said, okay, where do you, where, where's that number coming from? Or why did you feel it was going to be that much less? We had gotten another quote and we were hoping you were going to be in that range too. And then I flat out asked people, like, well, why didn't you go with that contractor? Sounds like that was a pretty good deal. They didn't have this. They didn't have a showroom to show us the materials. They weren't going to give us any renderings or design. He said he didn't really want to use that product, and we really liked that. And so they, just by asking and continuing the conversation, the objection, the actual objection becomes clear. Now,
hmm
sometimes the objection is like, hey, we don't have the, we have $50,000 spent on a project, but our dream is 150. The whole champagne taste and beer budget.
Yeah.
That's the reality. But if you're having a good conversation with the homeowner and asking those follow-up questions, just ask clarity. Keep asking until you are clear as a salesperson.
Yeah.
We
100%.
that goes back to people wanting to be helpful. If somebody's talking to you and you're their expert consultant and you're like, wait a minute, walk me through a little bit. So I'm a little bit confused on what you mean by that. They're going to be like, oh, I can help here. I can help an expert. And so they'll start giving you more information to provide that clarity, which is what you truly need to understand an objection. We're in construction. We build things. We operate on the fly. So sometimes you just have to say, wait a minute, let's not just start throwing more screws in the band board and okay, just dig a little bit deeper for the footing and just throw an extra bag of concrete in there. Like, no, we don't do that on the building side of things. We don't need to do that on the sales side of things. Stop, ask questions, get clarity on what the true objection is. And as you get better with that, you'll start to realize, okay, I'm going to address these objections ahead of time, or the ones that I run into the most frequently. So that way, that's out of the way. And then when I do meet with this homeowner, we're getting into that like deeper. It isn't these first date questions like, oh, do you have any pets? Or, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? No, let's get into the nitty gritty. Okay, is this serious? Are we going to execute a contract at some point in this? Or do we just need to both stop wasting each other's time?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, that's what it's all about when it comes to objections is what's the real objection? Because if you're not asking questions, if you're just answering questions, you'll still probably do pretty well, especially if you do well on answering the questions. But that homeowner probably has a deeper concern than what they're actually telling you. And they probably don't even know that either. But as you dig deeper and ask those clarifying questions, they're going to open up and realize, hey, you know what? He's actually asking real questions, not, okay, it's too expensive. What if I knock 10 grand off? Well, why didn't you just give me the 10 grand off price originally? So are you overcharging me? If I could do it for 10 grand less, I should have been doing it for 10 grand less.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and it's all about how good of questions you can ask, right? Ideally, you want them talking as much as possible. In my mind, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you're an expert in this space, but I think the better questions you can ask, you were saying when you're comparing those two estimates, right? When you ask those questions, they start to sell themselves on why they should go with you, because they're basically saying, oh, they didn't include this. They were going to go with this material. And all of a sudden, now they're basically pitching themselves on, oh, yeah, we need to go with you, and this is why you guys are more expensive, right? Yep. So I'm all about it. There's been a ton of golden nuggets here, man. But before we close out, I'll ask for one more golden nugget, right? I always ask for some words of wisdom, a lesson, technique, whatever it might be they want to leave the viewers with. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about Legacy Dex Academy. Obviously, we've already had Chris on here. We know that you guys are doing the coaching and the consulting in the Dex space specifically, but tell us a little bit about there for the ideal person and how they can contact you guys to see if it'd be a good fit.
Yes. Really, with the Legacy Dex Academy, we help deck builders around the country. And heck, if somebody called us in Europe and needed help, I'm sure we could help them there. But really what we're doing is we're helping that deck builder business owner take what they're already doing well and develop their own systems and processes so that they can continue to grow, take off some of the hats that they may be wearing. That's the biggest thing with these business owners. They're wearing 17 different hats. And then it's okay, you've created this job that operates just because of you. How do we maybe bring some people in to take those hats off for you, allow you to work on the business, to do all the things that you got into business to be as an entrepreneur, like having some free time, having the level of income that you thought you were going to be able to achieve, all of those things, and unlocking those by doing the work with us, showing them what they need to do, like how they can set up a hiring funnel, how can they track those metrics every single week to make sure they're on target to hit their production numbers, their sales numbers every single quarter. And ultimately, it's just like I said, the personal aspect of things. We want those people that want to build something special for themselves, something that they could potentially sell one day, pass on to their kids. Those are ultimately the ones. If somebody comes to us and says, I want to build the biggest deck brand in the entire world, and I just want to make a ton of money and get out of here and buy a yacht, and who cares about my employees? That's probably not our ideal client. And so we want those people that they truly care. And we've had some of our best success stories are family owned businesses that finally just had that little tweak that we helped them with. And they had that aha moment and it changed everything for them. They've got a showroom now. They had their paid off their high interest credit cards, bought a truck full out. And then we're even able to reward themselves by renovating their home because their office was now out of their living room and into an actual showroom. Like that to us, that's what is so exciting. Yeah, we helped them make a little bit more money as a business and stuff, but those are the little things that just get us excited.
Yeah, it really is. It makes it all worth it, all the hard work. So make sure you guys are reaching out. They're doing incredible things for the deck community and the industry. And I'll tell you one thing, it's hard, right? Starting your business, growing your business, it's difficult. And sometimes you don't know all the answers. So when you're able to lean on coaches, consultants, communities that have the blueprints, that have the playbook to help you out, I guarantee you it's worth the ROI 100%. Because I'll tell you one thing, there's probably so many things that Chris had to do wrong and had to pay for, whether it's time or his money, that you can skip from his team because they already know the answers and already had to learn it the hard way.
Absolutely.
So that is worth it.
Yeah. Failing our way to success. It's one of those things. You got to try a bunch of things to figure out what doesn't work. And you said ROI. That's a term that I love, which is return on involvement. When you're in the room, when you're part of a organization, whether it be the academy or any of the other coaching programs that are out there, if you're involved in something with other like-minded people and you're pushing each other towards a greater goal, you're going to have more success as an individual, as a business, and you're going to feel more fulfilled every single day when you have something like that to go to.
Oh, hey, Nick, I really appreciate you, man. You dropped some knowledge, and I know you guys are helping out a lot of people out there, so we appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Awesome. No, I appreciate the opportunity to be on here.